Hey, everybody, welcome back to Taboo Talk with Sarah, the podcast that breaks the silence, fosters hope, and talks about the tough stuff so you never feel alone. If you're new here, I'm Sarah. I am a mum to three amazing boys. I'm a wellness coach, and I'm your guide through real, raw stories behind caregiving, chronic illness, burnout, grief, and the healing that follows. And I'm really excited about today's episode because I'm joined by somebody whose presence radiates peace and wisdom. Anne Almeida is a healer, a teacher, and a guide whose work with sacred geometry, energy healing, and spiritual alignment helps people reconnect to themselves, mind, body, and spirit. When I first met Anne, it was inside the Shine Circle where she led a really great session on sacred geometry. And I left that session feeling more grounded, centered, and open to learning more about something that I'd only looked around the edges of. It has this rare gift for blending spiritual truth with practical grounding. Met us where we were and made a really tricky, or what could be a tricky topic, really easy to understand. So I am really excited to see where today's conversation's going to lead us. And welcome. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you so much. Your words were absolutely amazing. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
So you have a really grounded energy when you teach, but I know it hasn't all been smooth sailing to get to where you are now. So can you share a little about your journey? What brought you into practicing the healing arts, and how did sacred geometry find you? Because it's not that well known. It's not like it's something that you're just walking down the street and it jumps out at you.
No, not at all. With my journey, I think, trauma in our life follows patterns. And I like to say the universe kind of whispers and then she speaks and then she roars. And so my journey kind of sacred geometry found me at about the roaring stage and when my life was falling apart. I was divorced and I was in a toxic relationship with someone who I knew I needed to get away from, but it was just a lot of, I was terrified. I knew it was going to be bad, and it was. In the process, though, it was also very beautiful because I remember learning that it was possible to change the thoughts in your head. And that was what planted the first seed. I didn't know that. I thought I'd always kind of had that. I think people are born with either conviction or like, what the heck am I doing here? And so I was more in the camp of like, why am I here? And really struggled with depression and different things. And so even just hearing that it's possible to change the thoughts kind of started me on a healing journey. And it helped. I got to the root of some issues and it helped. It did. It made days more bearable and I was kind of getting out of survival mode, but I was still missing something. And I remember when I first learned what it was out at a Colorado retreat center out in Colorado. And I learned what an empath was. Now it's 40 something years old. And I knew I was always so sensitive, but I didn't know there was like more people like me. It's actually a gift. And it felt like a curse most of my life. And so once I started talking to Oliver Nino, is the man who was talking to me about being an empath. And then we started talking about chords and then we started talking about energy. And then it was like remembering something that I'd never been told in this lifetime, but yet it just made so much sense. I knew that I knew it and I knew I was supposed to follow it. And so I started studying. I was already studying under his wife, Mandy Morris, and studying neuroscience and the subconscious mind, and started taking all of his courses with sacred geometry. And I remember when I was learning it, it was one of the, he taught the lesson in the beginning, and your vibration is your best protection. And I was at a stage where my life was like crumbling around and I was very fearful in a lot of places. And that was what I needed. And that's what kind of carried me through to get my vibration up to a place out of that fear. And it was the only thing that worked. I'd tried the conventional routes. I'd gone to I'd gone to doctors. I'd tried to, like nothing was making sense. And so it kind of, I leaped into what other people hadn't heard of, but I knew was something. And so when I started studying it with him, the first group healing experience I had, I'd had this horrible smell in my nose. That sounds terrible, but my health wasn't the best. And I had this like putrid taste in my mouth. And I was out at this Colorado retreat center and experienced my first sacred geometry energy healing. And I literally felt that odor leave my physical form. And I remember thinking, like, is this person going to smell it? Like, is this just me or am I losing my mind? Like, what is going on? And that was with my dear friend. And actually, I was speaking to her earlier, Danielle, who's an amazing healer. And, it showed me what's possible. And I think the biggest thing for me was realizing, like, I understand life is hard. It has hard moments, but it's not meant to feel so hard to be in your skin. And I think for some of us, we need that other step. Like energy it's your entire body. It's not just one part. It's all over. And so it really, once you start to tap into that and the different ways to clear it and start to think about things differently, it makes those hard moments not as challenging because you see kind of the growth that comes with it.
That post-traumatic growth, as a friend of mine calls it, when
Yes.
you figure out what's really going on, connect to who you are and find that space where you're more comfortable in your own
Yes.
skin. And when you're treating things that are going on in your body more as a communication, that your body and your spirit is trying to tell you, hey, this is what's going on, this is what I need, pay attention.
Yes. And that's what I've taught mat Pilates and yoga since my early 20s, and I always say that I've said this before I even knew how true it was, but the body's giving us feedback. Like when you have a headache, my kids will I have 5 kids. They'll say, "I have a headache." I'm like, "How much water have you had today?" "Oh no, I haven't had any." "Okay, go drink the water before you take the medicine." I mean, our body wants to feel good. It really does. But I think so many of us are not taught that because not out of neglect or negative. It's just a different way of looking at life and trying to find that balance within yourself that I think more
And
people
it's,
are waking up to.
yeah. And that as easy as it is to get caught up in the crazy busy, the stress that then sends our nervous system into dysregulation and we need healing, if we can actually listen to those whispers, our body's not going to have to scream at us. It's just that most of the time we're so used to ignoring the little niggles, we get to the point that we don't even hear them until it is so loud you can't ignore it anymore.
And that's what I think happens to, that's when I think people reach kind of their breaking point. And then I think from that point, they learn to listen to the little whispers. Do you know what like it really only takes one of those times. And then you're like, whoa, okay, we need to do something about this. So we don't get, and that's when you kind of start going searching for answers. Cause I think, especially as women, I see this a lot with, my Pilates students, and we carry so much on our shoulders. It's literally that feeling like carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. I think it came from how women feel. And if you think about the neck problems and how many people I talk to can't turn their neck side to side, and it's all just stress. It's just knots of emotional wounds that people are carrying. And when you get into the energetic space, for someone like me, I can feel those places in people. So when people come to me and I can tell where they are, and then we can dig into more why they're there, but the energy healing helps clear it. And one of my clients said it feels like in life you're walking around with like bottles that are pressurized like all over your body, and you're just tense and you're barely putting one foot in front of the other. And she said, after I receive a healing from you, the next day I feel like I can move, I feel like I can breathe, I feel like the air has been let out of the bottle. And I think if you think about going to the ocean or sitting outside in the sun, those are all naturally energy healing. So with sacred geometry, it's just so much more amplified and intentional. But the act of doing it, we're all naturally doing it when we get our hands in the dirt, when we, garden or just walk or do things of that.
And we connect into that energy. Now, one of the
Mm-hmm.
things I loved was that while sacred geometry could be seen as being complicated and really woo woo out there, but you also come from a science background, which was great
Yes.
for me, who went, I like you walk that fine line between science and
Yes.
spirituality. And it's like, I've been a massage therapist for a very long time, also do reflexology, shiatsu, and all of those systems of healing are based on the idea that a physical problem is a sign of an imbalance or a blockage in the flow of chi or life
Yes.
force energy. To put it into more Western terms,
Mm-hmm.
if your soul isn't right, if your spirit isn't right, your body isn't going to be either.
Yes. Yes.
And science is backing that up more and more now, which is so great.
No, I know. It really is. And that's
Yeah.
what Oliver actually did. It's on YouTube. I could find it and send it to you, but did a study. He wanted to find more tangible medical proof, Western medical proof, and ended up speaking to an anesthesiologist and a pain management doc who had used energy healing with people who are struggling with chronic pain. And it's amazing the way things are catching up and coming in sync. And it really does give you hope for what's coming as more people kind of start to embrace it. But going back to the computer science aspect of it, it really is like running a computer program through your energetic body. So the way Oliver taught it, it was very step by step, which for me, that's good. I'm good. I like that, and he was trying to help us tap into our intuition as to what to do next. But he was also giving us something to fall back on in his programs of, if you follow these steps, this will happen. You will achieve this result, and that's where using the tools and the power of sacred geometry and just being kind of the container to hold it all together. And really, it was a beautiful way to kind of learn the practice and start to hear your own intuition. Because in the beginning, you want to help, but you're not quite there yet to be able to hear it like at the level where I can now.
And to know whether what you're hearing is something that you need or if it's for the other
Yes.
person.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
where that being an empath can be a bit tricky, because you have to learn along the way. This is my stuff. That's yours.
Yes. And then sometimes they'll kind of merge when you have a lot of open centers and you're like,
Yes.
I'm not used to feeling like this. I think this is coming from something else. So yes, yes. And
Yeah.
it is possible to learn though. Like in anybody can't, like it's having that self-awareness and that asking the questions and listening for the answers. Cause I think also too, we can kind of start to think that our mind's against us, but our mind really is open for us. If you think about it with spirituality, as you start to tap in and hear the different things, the thoughts in your head will start to change as well. And you can kind of understand what's now being more intuitive guidance and things like that instead of the hamster wheel.
Yes. And you'll start to hear those things that support and encourage you,
Uh-huh.
rather than those things that push you down and make the walk
Yes.
more difficult.
Yes.
Now, for those people who are new to the idea of sacred geometry, unpack it for us in like really simple terms, and how understanding those patterns that we see all around us can influence our healing.
Yes. Hopefully, yes, of course, I would love to unpack this. I think
You might.
if talking about different patterns, the patterns that we see in nature. So if we're looking at like the petals of a leaf on a flower, or if you're looking down at something and you see the symmetrical, like with seashells, and you see those different ocean patterns, and those patterns are not by accident; they're very much by design, and they resemble facets of the human body, the physical human body. If you look at DNA, it's a helix structure, which is a spiral. And so that's really where sacred geometry comes into play. So as we see it in nature and we see it within our body, it makes sense that using that geometry would communicate with your body and have a certain effect on your body. And so starting with those building blocks, it really is, it's such like a computer program, because you start with one block and you see how that reacts, and then you add another block on and another block on. And so this methodology was channeled to Oliver after an activation in Sedona, and really mind-boggling when you think about it, because it's a whole different practice. It's very different from Reiki. I mean, it's different from Reiki in that it can be with anybody around the world. So you're going up to the ethers, like you're not doing this in a 3D setting. But you will feel, I remember the first healing that I had in my home when I was still very confused. Like I was talking to Oliver's assistant. I'm like, when does it start? What's the Zoom? And she's like, just sit back and receive. I'm like, what? I don't understand. Like, I'm going to be late. And she's like, girl, calm down. Like sit back and receive. Like, it's going to be okay. And so I sat back. She was like, just focus on your breath. And so I just focused on my breath. And all of a sudden, I could feel him inside my head. I was like, this is the wildest. And it feels like an internal massage. And so, and this is because we don't know all of it. There's still so much that's unknown. I mean, there's so much that it's unknown, but this is just kind of what I've pieced together with how it communicates with the body. So it's amazing to put a group of people, anywhere from 3 people to 3,000 people, you put them in the same sacred geometry containers, they will see and experience and feel something different because it's all coming through the filter of you. So with this practice, though, it takes what that individual needs by using the power of intention, and everything's rooted in unconditional love. Like, this is not, there's nothing dark with this. It's very much, to me, it's like the Hippocratic Oath. Like, I don't do, like, one of my kids has received healings, but the others are like, no. And I'm like, okay, like, it's a respect thing. Like, it's very much on that level, but
And it needs to be.
yes, exactly. It's an integrity thing with that. Yes. But it, it's such a beautiful practice to see what the people experience. You know, so the yantra, the Shri yantra, I have a hard time saying that, Shri yantra. I'm not sure why. So I just always end up calling it the yantra. But if you look up the yantra, it's got the 4 posts. And when you build this, you build it with, in exact divine proportion. So like, even if you're not a visual person, you still can use your words to use this geometry. So it's not something where you have to be a completely visual person. Like, my goal is to help people understand how they can use this for themselves. Like, I would love for everybody to be self-healing and know that they can heal themselves instead of going to the doctor for a cold, you know, those types of things. So the yantra is, it's divine unconditional love in the most highest form. So if you were going to sleep tonight, you could picture the yantra. You can Google it. It's an image online everywhere if you're not familiar with it. And use your words like a prayer, like intention, whatever your faith, you know, connect to something bigger than you and kind of step into the yantra and allow it to kind of envelop you and see how you sleep tonight. Like, that's simple. It doesn't have to be like, it is a beautiful structure. And oh my gosh, it's so complicated to draw. And I've tried to draw it and it's very challenging, like, and amazing. But our words and your own power is just as amazing as that. And so, because you're made of that, you're connected to that. So that's what I would say for people to do to kind of and you could even put yourself in a pyramid. If the yantra, you're like, I don't know how to spell that, just put yourself in a pyramid overnight and see how you feel. Like, there's a reason there were pyramids in Egypt. There's a very powerful energy that's created under that. And so I think unpacking sacred geometry is really looking at the simplicity of all of it, even with its most amazing, beautiful outcomes and how complex it seems. It really, at the core, is actually quite simple and usable for everyone.
Yeah. And that there is all of those repeatable patterns. So many things I love about it. With the DNA double helix, it's the intelligent design implies that there is an intelligent designer, was something that Watson and Crick are credited with saying about the DNA double helix and those patterns. The main thing I love about it, and you touched on it, whatever your faith is. So it is something that we can all use.
Yes.
Because we see those patterns, that creative force around us in everything. We see it when we look at blood cells under a microscope. We see it when we look at patterns in flowers, again, under a microscope, and we see them, how the body, one of the basic things of how the body works. It's a concept called homeostasis, which you probably know, but for anyone who's listening who isn't from a sciencey background, it's that all of the systems are designed to work in balance and harmony and keep everything at optimum levels where everything just works. And it's when those systems get out of balance, when those homeostatic mechanisms, so homeo is body, stasis, same, so that it all stays at the same levels. So you have a certain amount of minerals in your blood and they're supposed to be in certain ratios and patterns. And it's only when they get out of whack that we then have a problem. So we see that that's how it all works. It's not like it's something that you can only tap into if you're of a certain faith or if you believe a certain thing. It is something that it is a healing tool that is open to every.
Yes. And I think the only thing I would add to that is it's important to go on the journey to figure out what that is for you. And like in the beginning, I think when I first started meditating, and I was really angry with my version of God. Like, there was a lot that I was still very angry. there was a lot that
He's got
I
broad
needed
shoulders. He can take it.
There was a lot that I needed to sort through with my faith. But what I've realized is, especially when talking about energy healing, I've 2 of my kids who follow the more conventional religious path and going to brick and mortar church and things like that. And it took me being able to communicate with them in the terms of prayer, in the terms of what they feel comfortable with. Like, we're all saying the same thing. And that's really when you start to, you want to meet people where they are. And that's something that I've always, I don't like feeling confused. I don't like feeling stupid, and I don't like feeling confused. Those are two things from my childhood. Like, what? Not even from my child. I just don't like it. Nobody likes it, you know. So, like, with these types of concepts, I love being able to explain it to people in a way that I think they'll understand. And if that way doesn't work, it's like, all right, well, let's try this way. You know, like, all right, that one didn't hit it. Well, let's go this way. You know, just coming up with different ways in a non-judgmental way is just one of those things that, and all the things that I teach, I love being able to do for people, because you can see that light go on when, like, it's that their own self-belief, they kind of, you know, put their shoulders back, and it just makes sense to them, which is nice to see.
So many things we can talk about.
We get distracted too. I get a little distracted. Oh, I know. I was going to say, with the homeostasis comment, you know, it's interesting because with all of the healing modalities in the world, Western medicine is the only one that doesn't recognize an invisible force that ties it all together. So it's very, you know, mechanically based, like the eye's a camera, the heart's a pump, and everything's very separate. And you go to the cardiologist, and you go to the ophthalmologist, and you go, you know, like, everything's very siloed. And if you look at the other modalities, there's that field that connects it all together. And phantom leg pain is a perfect example. So for people who don't really understand, you know, energy, they could see it through. The phantom leg pain is when an amputee still can feel as if the physical leg is there, because the energetic component is still there. And but I think we're moving in the right direction, though.
Yeah, integrative medicine is becoming more mainstream now, and
And looking at
looking
the
at
guts
what's
and
going
all
on
that.
for the whole person, and
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
not separating it all out. So more
Right.
bringing it back
Yes.
together.
Yes.
But yes, that was for a long time there, it was that science and faith or spirituality, they were supposed to be separate. Whereas, hang on, one works well with the other when we put them,
Yes. Yes.
when we remember
Yes.
that we're spiritual beings having a physical experience, that
Yes.
there is so much more to what is going on, so much more than what we can see and what we can understand. I've been studying this area for, well, going on 30 years, or if you count my life, it's a little closer to 50. But because I was a sick kid and then cared for my mum through cancer, and now I am mum of, well, mum of 3 boys, but 2 of them have extra needs. And the big thing is, when we look at what's going on the whole, it works much better. And the thing I've realized, the more I learn about the body and how it works, the more I realize I know nothing.
That I can understand.
Or that there's so much more, because every question I answer, I come up with a few more. And I think that's probably true of just about everyone in the health field, in the health and well-being field, is we're constantly learning more. And we need lots of healers who are willing to test those boundaries and work out what's what. So thank you for doing that and helping people to understand that it doesn't have to be as complicated as we make it.
Yes. Yes. And that's a big thing for me. I'm a little neurospicy, in case you can't tell. I tend to complicate the most simple situations. So, but with this, it really, it does. You can dial it back and just start with small practices, and start with, like, you're listening to what your body's telling you, you know. And I say that in my Pilates classes at the studio. I'm like, you know, we got to honor the feedback. And people are like, my body's telling me to stop. And I'm like, well, maybe not all the feedback. You know? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's listening to, it's knowing your mind and knowing your body, and having that alignment and that connection with what it's trying to tell you.
And as you learnt in the early days, just be open to receiving it, especially for those who are in those caring spaces. When you're used to giving a lot to everyone else, sometimes it's really hard to receive, and we unconsciously put up blocks to stop that.
Yes, and that was a big part of my journey that kind of led to burnout for me. I was in corporate for 25 years, and I was the yes person, and always the yes person, and raising 5 kids while working 60 hours, and just having to really reframe that. And so you really, to shift that, one of the things that helped me was, I called them litmus tests. Like, if I was always saying yes to going out or doing whatever, I would use my kids as my litmus test. Like, if I'm with my kids, I'm with my kids. It's a no, because you have to start practicing that muscle of saying no. And I got really good at saying no with people I wasn't super emotionally attached to. Then it came, oh my gosh, I'm saying yes to my kids all the time. Okay, how can I shift this boundary? Because when you're saying yes to other people, you're saying no to yourself in a lot of situations. So it creates that mistrust, which creates that misalignment, which creates those blocks to receiving, And so
See,
it's
it's all
it's
connected.
giving yourself kind of parameters that are maybe outside of you while you're still learning your own judgment. And it's perfectly fine. This was a big one for me, saying, I don't know. Let me get back to you, instead of saying yes in the moment, or instead of saying no, or just saying, I don't know right now, I will think about it. And that was a big step, because I was so used to, oh, you got to have a decision. No, you don't. No, you really don't. You can take some time to process and then get back to the person. So doing those little micro moments can really help too, with taking so much on.
And remembering that you don't have to have all the answers all the time.
No. One of my other healers was like, nobody has a clue what they're doing. Nobody knows what's going on. Like, it's okay. Like, just take a nap. It's okay.
Or you might know exactly what you're doing in one area of your life and the rest of it going, yeah,
I
nah,
don't know.
not a clue.
It's an adventure. You call it an adventure, and then it like puts a fun spin on it. And you're like, okay, well, let's see what we can get into.
Keller was absolutely right. There's a brilliant quote from her. Life is a daring adventure or nothing at all.
I
Yeah.
haven't heard that quote. I love that, because it does. If you look at things as an adventure, as a child, I used to joke and say that life was like a choose your own adventure. Did you have those books growing up? Where,
Yeah.
like, if you're going to go to the store with Sally, go to page 60. If you're going to go to the park with Tommy and fight the boys, go to page 73. So if you look at life as that, and if you think about an infinite number of realities going on at any given time, and those are the different pages of the choose your own adventure book, it kind of takes some of the heat off of the decisions that you're making, because it's like, okay, this is an adventure. Like, if I go here, I go there. You still get to wherever you need to go. It just might be a different route than what before.
Sometimes we have to go the roundabout way to get there.
Exactly. Yeah,
My
I
mum
got a
used to
lot
be
of
fond of
yes.
saying we'd just go on drives and we'd get to a cross street and it's like left or right. And but she said, we never ever got lost. We just sometimes took the scenic route to get to places.
I love that. Go,
And I
mom.
think
That
that's
was a
something
good.
we can apply to life, not just going for a Sunday drive.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's some beautiful wisdom that she put on you.
Yeah. Yeah, she had her moment.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And speaking of past generations and the wisdom they pass down, you also sometimes do work with breaking those generational patterns. Do you want to talk a little about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's when I first learned about generational trauma and generational patterns, the story to me was told that there was a client who had a terrible fear of bridges, like terrifying, like would get white knuckled, couldn't figure out what was going on, and just had no idea. And this kind of goes into gestational. So I'm lumping gestational and generational. And when he dug in with his mom and asked some questions, found out that she was in a car accident when he was like 4 months along, like, not old, in her belly. And that's where that fear came in. And that was kind of my first introduction to it, right? And so as I started thinking about, I've always had this terrifying fear of escalators, like terrifying fear of escalators. No idea. Like, I mean, I'll get on them, but like, I got to hold on to the rail. Like, it's not rational. I know it's not rational, but I don't understand. Like, it's just a thing. Like, and I had 4 kids under 4. So I've been in the mall before, like trying to carry them all down. And I'm like, I'm coming right back. I've had strangers carrying other ones down when they were super little, because I didn't have enough arms to hold on to the rail. And I was at the beach with my family, and my aunt mentioned something about my great great aunt and her fear of escalators. And this woman, they called her Aunt. Nobody really knows what her name was. They called her Aunt. And I was like, what was her name? They're like, Aunt. I'm like, oh, okay. But I was like,
It's
she had a
helpful.
fear of, yeah, I was like, she had a fear of escalators. And she was like, yeah, she had a terrifying fear of escalators. So that was kind of my first introduction to way generational trauma can work on a simple level, of these weird things that we think are our quirks or, kind of weird things about us. It likely comes from somewhere up the line. It may come from a past life, or it could come up, somewhere from the line. And I think if you think about healing trauma in this lifetime, they say it heals 7 generations forward and 7 generations back. I'm not sure where they got the math on that. I'm going to be totally honest. Like, I don't know if it's one of those spiritual concepts that we just tell ourselves because it makes ourselves feel better. But if you think about it, if you think about DNA being in your system, maybe that one strand of DNA where that trauma is located, it is replicated 7 back and 7 forward. So that's kind of how I rationalized it. But
Mitochondrial DNA can be traced back to common ancestor.
there you go. See, so that is what it is. So that was kind of how I rationalized it. But what it does too, it gives you the tools, because it's kind of your shadow sides and the different lessons and things that you're here to learn in this lifetime coming up to the surface to be processed instead of absorbed. So you're breaking that generational trauma. And I've seen it with things that I would be working on, and then my kid would also be working on it. And it was like, oh gosh, okay, we're going through the same thing and having the same thoughts. Like, this is not, I need to work through this. And it's I think there's a lot that we know, but I think there's also a lot that we don't know. And it's not something where, to me, if it's being presented to you in this lifetime, you have the opportunity to sit with it, like not on it, not in it, not getting consumed with it, but just with it, and look for the lesson of what it's trying to show you. Like, there's always a lesson, there's a gift, there's something in there trying to find that. And that's how, kind of like layers of an onion, but that's how you peel back a layer and kind of get into the meat of it. And it's not, I think patience and grace is required for people going through that. Generational trauma is it's no joke. But when I think it often presents itself for the so-called black sheep of the family, the ones that didn't quite fit, and it kind of becomes their thing of, hold, like, carrying that for the family. Like, you're in your family and your life for such a paramount reason that we may not know all of it, but you're here for a reason, and these experiences that you're going through they're part of your journey, and they're part of your soul's evolution. And when you start to look at things like that, it's like, okay, like, what's this showing me? What can I do with this? What's a little different with this? And start to get curious. And it can be hard when you're in it. I'm not saying that's when you're in it, you want to do whatever you can, take a salt bath, go to the ocean, do something, get your hands in the dirt, that type thing. But yeah, I praise the generational trauma breakers, because it's not an easy thing to do.
It's not easy work, but it's very important. And the thing is, each and every one of us was put here for a reason, to do something that only we can do for the world. So if your thing is to break those generational patterns, then go and do it.
Yes.
And just
Absolutely.
be kind to yourself while you do it, because it's not an easy road to walk.
And with mine, it's you're carrying a weight around. Like, when you have those certain things, you'll feel so much lighter as you process these things. Like, I've processed a lot of things with my mom. I mean, my mom's this now 79-year-old. Well, she just had her birthday last week. She's a 79-year-old woman, and she's embraced this healing journey and listened to me go through the things. And she's gotten curious. We've had tough conversations that if you told me 20 years ago I would have with my mom, oh my goodness, I would never have imagined. And so I think not allowing yourself to grow, and also allowing other people in your life to grow too, because none of us are staying the same as yesterday. And instead of me assuming my mom would react a certain way, it was like, no, I'm going to talk to her about this. Like, this is really helping me. And then it ended up helping her. And then so it kind of evolved. So I think really, like you said earlier, being open and receiving and sharing, I think it can change the dynamic of so much.
Yes. And if we're just open to sharing those stories, because you never know when it's your story that's going to change somebody else's story. And you can't go in the, oh, I'm not going to say it because they might not take it. Well, give them the chance to take it well, or
Yes.
to find what it is that is meant to come out of that conversation.
Yes.
Sometimes really difficult conversations move you from stuck to thriving to working through all of that stuff
You're
and
feeling
finding
stuck
that,
for a reason.
yeah,
Yeah, you feel stuck for a reason to prompt you to do something different than than what you're doing. It's your
yeah,
body's like, hold up, you need to do something else. We're not
yeah.
done with this yet. Yeah.
And was it the definition of an insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result. So maybe if we've been doing things a certain way and we've figured out it hasn't been working, maybe that's the try something different.
Yes.
Give your mum the
Yes.
chance to listen and respond differently to what you expect she's going to.
Yes. Well, and hearing her perspective of what she was going through and what she knew, it's just you could have you can get so attached to a story, and that story can keep you stuck. And and it's not saying it's not with challenges, not with tears, but we get attached to our stories like Sookie Little Blankets. That's what one Joanna Hunter's this brilliant mentor of mine, and she talks about the Sookie Little Blanket, and it's the baby blanket that we're holding on to because it keeps us stuck, because there's somewhere in our mind that feels safer to stay stuck, because even if we're not happy, it's familiar. And so it's that primal instinct to keep you safe. Whereas if you can just kind of break that attachment and know that that growth is going to be so worth it on the other side.
That you can find a new safe place within that.
Yes.
'Cause,
Yes.
yeah, our body, our nervous system is hardwired to keep us safe.
Yep. Yes. Yeah.
So, what's lighting you up at the moment? What are you moving through and putting out into the world now?
Dancing is lighting me up at the moment. I love to dance. And it's one of those, I'm not professionally trained. It's a matter of self-expression. And I weaved it into my workouts because I love to work out, and kind of figuring out how your body loves to move is kind of my thing. Like I've never been a runner. I can't stand running, and I only run if I'm being chased, and I don't want to be chased. People be like, "Oh, you look like a runner." I'm like, "No, not me."
Ooh.
Like, not me. But I love
Your
to
nervous
move my
system
body.
might, but that doesn't mean the rest of you has to.
Exactly, exactly. And so at the moment, I am weaving in the spirituality aspect and the energy healing aspect into that dancing, with setting intentions and with using imagery. And I'm very excited. I want to be inviting people to dance with me soon, because they even put out studies where dancing does more to treat depression than SSRIs. There's I made it a part of I call them my non-negotiables, and it's the ways that I'm going to show up for myself in a given day, like on a guaranteed basis. And it's making my bed, and it's dancing, and it's bathing, basic things, and it's the amount of water that I drink. But there's things that, so that no matter what chaos is going on, I know I'm taking care of myself and giving myself that break. So it's kind of that freedom. And so I want the two different types that I want to offer the world is, one is that dancing with the energy healing, and it will be more about the musical choice and be very much about empowerment and like owning the badass that you are, and like really just loving yourself through it. It's free flow. There'll be some choreography, but not anything tricky, and just more about like the community and the gathering of people. And then the other style will be more of like workout based, with kickboxing in there, and still some imagery too, because I just like to use it and it makes it fun. But
It works.
that's kind of one of the things that I'm birthing at the moment, that I'm very excited.
Sounds like so much fun.
And it's like playing the old. Did you ever watch MTV? I think MTV just closed like the other day. I was so sad. Like, it's not what it was, but I was such an MTV baby, watching all those music videos from the time that like it started when I was 6. And it's that release, like just nobody's watching. Like I have a sign in my kitchen: work like you don't need the money, love like you've never been hurt, and dance like nobody's
Dance like
watching.
nobody's watching.
Yeah, because it's just
Yep.
it's that release. And so I really, yeah, that's what I'm very excited about.
Yeah,
Excited about.
and they're doing it with community. So that's something I've noticed in a lot of the conversations that we've had on this show. Community just has this way of keeping popping into the conversation. And we're both part of the Shine Circle, another community that we're both part of, and it's a great space for connecting. So, what part do you think communities like that and like the one you will create with your dancing with people?
Mhm.
What do you think that part that plays in healing?
Mm. I think you can look at it from a few different angles, but we're all connected. And so I think it gives that, it's almost like finding a whole community of people that are your partners in belief. So partners in belief is a term that I heard pretty early on, and it's having, there's certain people in your life that you can rely on them. If you're having kind of a down day in how you see yourself, you can kind of turn to your partner in belief and say like, hey, I need a boost. Like, let me know I'm seeing the world like this. And they kind of help boost you up. And that community of like-minded people, you're going to create that synergy and that container that gets magnetized. So like all of your energy coming together really gets magnetized and starts to vibrate at a higher rate. So like that feeling that you feel really comes from, because I think people like being seen. We're human. We want to be seen. Like I was always a kid that wanted to be called on in class. Like I wanted people to know I was there. You want to be heard, you want to be seen. It's a human need. And when you're in that community and you are seen and you are heard and you feel that joy from that connection, even if it's just with one other individual or 100 other individuals, that's what I think we're seeking, because it can make you feel that, yeah, that camaraderie.
A sense of belonging
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
connectedness.
Yes. And I think too, for super sensitives, I think, and empaths, however you want to phrase it, a lot of us have felt like we don't belong. And, at various stages in our life, like I've worked with so many clients who said, I just don't feel like I'm from here. And I'm like, well, you probably aren't, but, like you're here now. So like right on both accounts, like, but I think coming together with that common theme, whatever it is, whether it's the Shine Circle or what, I'm in a Be Awesome network, different things, it gives you that common ground.
And I find it interesting how many people are in similar communities and they all come together, which is kind of cool
Yes.
because I'm in
Yes.
Be Awesome Network too.
Yes. I know. I love it. I love it. Oh,
Because they're
I'm
just
so
those
excited.
places that you go, these are my people. They just get it.
Yes, 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 absolutely. Yes.
I think we all need to find those people and those places where no matter where we're at. So if we're having a great day, we can go, hey, I'm having a great day. And somebody's going to be there to jump up on the table and celebrate with you. Or if you're having one of those days where you just want to go blah and everything sucks, that somebody there is going to hand you the box of tissues, say, what else do you need? And just sit beside you in that. Not have to fix it, not have to make it all better, just be there with you.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I have one last question for you, and this is the one that I ask everybody.
Hmm.
What's the one conversation you think we need to be having that we're not?
I think it's these conversations. I think we need to be talking more. When I first started doing coaching services, I've had so many different mentors tell me that you can't talk to people about depression and suicidal ideation, because, and I mean, these are people who I really respect. They're like, you can't talk to those people because they're lazy and they're not going to buy anything. And then, and if you look at the statistics, 23 million people, I mean, the statistics are staggering. And then you look at suicidal ideation and you look at the emotional scale of consciousness, and shame being the lowest vibration point. So when people, I think we need to start having those conversations. I know plenty of friends who are still here because they were able to call me and be like, Anne, I want to jump in front of a bus. I need your help. And I'm like, all right, what do we got? Where are we on the emotional scale? Like we have a scale for pain. Why don't we have a scale for suicidal ideation? Like, all right, Do we need to get the guns out of the house? Do you need me to come and sit with you? Can you make it through the night? Like those type
Yep.
conversations, if we can start having those, not that that's an affliction that everybody in society is dealing with, but it touches everyone at some point in their life, whether it's yourself or somebody that you love. And that's one of the things that I want to help change. So
And
yeah.
interestingly enough, that's one of the reasons behind why I started this show. Was as a therapist, I was hearing similar stories, people going through things and feeling completely alone in it. And then we'd had friends suicide,
Mhm.
and it was that.
Mhm.
And I was driving home from dropping my son off, and a song called Whiskey Lullaby came on the radio, and it is a song about suicide. And I've mentioned it before, but it was that one line. Nobody ever knew. It goes on to nobody ever knew how much she blamed herself. But it was my whole thing was, yeah, nobody knew because nobody's talking about it. So people that are in that dark space and reach for a very permanent solution to what is generally a temporary problem, they need to be able to say, hey, I'm in this dark space. Somebody help.
Yes. Yes.
And we need
Yeah.
to make it easier for people to do that because,
There's so
yeah,
much fear around it. I don't understand why, because I've talked to so many people, but if you Google things or, people are so afraid they're going to get sued or they're like, I want to give you a plan to help you live your life, like, and want to live your life. Nobody, when you're in that
just want the
space,
pain to end.
yes. And they think that you literally believe that. So many people say, oh, how did I not know? You believe the world is better off without you. Like there's nobody's doing it as an intent to harm somebody else. Like you're fully on board. And it just takes a split second to have that permanent solution. And that's what, if we can get people to getting to that place of reaching out, like you said, or having the tools to know what to do when they are in that space, and just the different tips and things from somebody who, I mean, I get it. I think when you get it and you come back from the other side, you've got to kind of shine the light for people to help themselves too.
That may have been why you went through that experiences, was so that you could then
Absolutely.
help others.
Yes.
And when suicide is the leading cause of death for males aged 18 to 24, there is something very, very wrong and we need to do something about it.
Yes. Yeah. I totally agree.
So I'm pretty sure you and I will both just keep talking about
Thanks. I have loved this so
so,
much. Thank you.
and be honest with how you're feeling about things. And it's okay not to have the answers. It's okay to question. It's okay to wonder.
And I think too, one of the things that helped me the most was coming up with a phrase that helped me remind myself, like, I'm going to be okay, or what and it evolves over time, but having that phrase and having one of your partners in belief, whoever it may be, even if it's your dog. I'm not saying this person has to be a human. Like it can be your dog or your cat. Like I know sometimes life can feel very isolating. Like, so I'm not discounting animals from this. So I guess they can't talk,
Hey, there's a
but
dragon over my shoulder.
yes, there is. We could talk all about dragons. I love dragons. But it's having that something that it gets you through the night. It gets you through the moment. It gets you through and whether it's your breath, whether it's a word, whether it's a phrase, whatever it is. But I never talked to anyone that regretted waking up the next morning after they got through a bad episode. They're like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't. I'm so, and there are enough of those moments that, we can get you back to not having them.
And you've got to work through them and acknowledge them.
You can't
If you
stuff
don't
it down.
acknowledge a problem, you can't do anything about it. And pushing it all down, there's only just so much that can fit in the bottle before it's going to explode.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
better not to push it to that point where you explode.
Yes, exactly.
Is there one last thing you would like to share with our audience before I let you go? Because I know we could both stay here and talk all day, but
Really good. I think just following up on that last thing, like I know even if you're feeling alone or you're feeling behind or you're feeling stuck or you're feeling any of those just feelings that don't feel good, that it's temporary and it's breathe, let it out, sit with it, like we've said, and just know that that it's a process and you've got this and you're doing this and help each other.
It, because that's what we're meant to do, is to help each other. And when a friend's in a space that they can't see it, you can be the thing that reminds them that the sun will come out tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes, I
Yep.
have little orphan Annie in my head. I'm
Absolutely.
showing my age now too. But yeah, that sometimes has been over the years my phrase of, like, when I'm in that bad space, for want of a better way to put it, the sun will come out tomorrow. Rainbows always follow rain. Sometimes we've got to go through the dark stuff to actually know what light is.
Yes.
And Malcolm Jamal
Yes.
Warner, one of the last things that he said was, no matter what's going on in your life, there is always a reason to smile. If you're having trouble finding yours, be it for someone else.
I love that.
He
And
was
as
a
a
very
child of
smart
the
man.
80s, I
Yeah.
love that. Yes.
Knew Theo was so smart.
I know. That's from childhood. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's wonderful. I like that.
Yeah.
Well,
And
thank you
on
so
that,
much for having me.
thank you for being here and for sharing your wisdom, your warmth, and shining light on all of us today. What I love most about what you do is that reminder that healing doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be difficult. It can be quite simple. And it's about remembering how everything and everyone is connected and that there's beauty in that, even when we're messy.
Yes, especially when
Maybe
we're messy.
especially when. So if you've ever felt disconnected or unsure where to begin your healing, this is your reminder that you've already got that blueprint in you. And if you've ever walked through seasons of fear, of grief, of growth, we see you. If you've ever held it all together for somebody else, even when you're falling apart inside, you're not alone. And if you're learning to honor the hard stuff and still hold on to the joy, we're with you. So keep living like it matters. Remember that every day is sacred. And let's carry that wisdom forward with us in how we love, how we serve, how we show up for one another in all that beautiful, connected way that we all share. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Sarah Jordan Ross. This has been Taboo Talk. And until next time, remember, you matter. Your story matters. So share it, because you never know when it's your story that will be what makes the difference to someone else's. And if you are in that dark space, please reach out to somebody who cares. There is always help there. You do not have to go through it alone. Even if it's that you drop me a message or you reach out to Anne. She's fairly easy to find on Facebook.
Yes, absolutely. Please do.
So just reach out for that helping hand that will be there and trust that it will be there. I'll see you next time.